The next one, what's your take on friends with benefits? A little backstory on me. So I'm a 24-year-old active duty Navy single mom of a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old. My kids are currently with my best friend of 14 years who I trust with my life because I'm getting ready for deployment. My kid's father and I were on and off for 4 years, but it was a very toxic relationship and not good for either of us. And before that, I was in 2 other relationships back to back from 17 years old. I met this guy I work with and we became very close friends very quickly and ultimately decided to be friends with benefits since we're both 24, still young, and want to have fun. I just want to know what's your take on it. Like, would you do it if you met someone that had the same intentions as you and the agreement was very clear? Someone that just wanted to have fun, but who you also enjoy spending time with and hanging out and chilling with. Now, my personal opinion on friends with benefits, again, people can do whatever they want, whatever makes you happy. Ultimately, I'm just here opining in the corner, right? So these are all opinions and you don't need to take them seriously. But if you feel called out, then that's probably a sign that you should feel called out. Generally speaking, I would probably say that this is a terrible life choice. I think you both put the friendship at risk. I think the likelihood of you, I think for the vast majority of people, especially women, it is extremely difficult to separate the experience of sex from an emotional attachment. And the longer you spend having sex with one person, the more likely it is that you will develop that emotional attachment over time. And at 24 years old, with already 2 kids, as a single mom, I would probably say it is not worth wasting your time and your energy. And like this idea of I want to have fun, like sometimes it's okay to try and go for the long-term committed relationship as quickly as possible. And when you're like under this particular circumstance, I'd probably say that your value in the dating marketplace is going down like further and further and further down over time. The older you get, the more difficult it will be. The older your kids get, the more difficult it will be. And the more people that you sleep with, the more difficult it will be. And so maybe, just maybe you're setting yourself up for failure, not only by potentially ruining a relationship with a person that you work with, potentially ruining a friendship, but also putting yourself in the position where you will probably take a bit of emotional damage, and then your long-term prospects in terms of relationship will also go down. Those are the things that I see as risks. In this particular scenario, I wouldn't choose to do it, but I'm not this kind of person, and this isn't a thought that would ever occur to me. Obviously, that's me. Quite a lot of people are like, yeah, go for it. So a couple of the comments here. I think the majority of the time, one of the people will fall in love or it will end badly. If you weren't good friends to begin with, then who cares? And so the point being, that just doesn't sound like a lot of fun to me, to be honest. If you are potentially, like if you have a decent relationship with someone in terms of just a general, friendship, or if someone's a colleague and you get along and everything is fine, but then it ends badly and suddenly you have to deal with a lot of heartache and just a messy situation. It just does not, like, I don't understand what the appeal is, to be completely honest. Next person says, I had a friends with benefits for a bit. It worked out fine for the most part. I don't think either of us developed romantic feelings, but we definitely had interest and attraction. Obviously, it ended up not working out because I didn't like that he started having multiple partners in addition to me, not out of jealousy, but out of fear for my health. I didn't want to get any STDs. It ended fine. We're still on speaking terms, and I met my now husband through him. Now, this is also obviously not taking into account the risk of STDs, which sounds utterly disgusting to me. That's not something that I would do. And then you have a couple of people here who are like, yeah, we're married now. And then others reply, yeah, same. That's what happened to me too. And then this one says, for me, it's just hard to not develop emotional ties to someone I'm in the bedroom with, regardless of age and place in life. And that kind of really, really summarizes it. I think a lot of women convince themselves that they really can, that just having casual sex is fun and enjoyable, and like, why not? And especially, like, obviously it's become more and more common lately. And it's much more common amongst younger people than it is amongst older people, I think, because once you've had that experience in your early 20s, usually by the time you hit, let's say, 27, 28, 30 years old, then you start really looking to settle down with someone. And often at that point, if you're a 30-year-old woman, so she has like a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old and she's 24, that means she's going to have a 6, 7-year-old as a 30-year-old woman, and then you've probably been with another 5, 6, 7, 8, however many guys, then for a lot of people that's a huge turn off. And it's kind of, it makes sense, I guess, to a certain extent if you think that the short-term experience is really fun. And so this whole idea of like finding yourself and experiencing whatever it is you need to experience to know who you are and what you like. But generally speaking, if you have just a little bit of a longer term view on it, the question is, will you be happy in your late 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s with the decisions that you're making now in your 20s? And I think for the majority of people, that's not the case. And maybe it's bad, like maybe thinking so far ahead is also not a good way to live in general. But I think this idea of living with regret is kind of really sad for a lot of people. And obviously you can't go back in time. You can't change the decisions that you make in the past. So if you're going to do things that you really deeply regret that actually impact you in the future, then that's probably not a good idea. So obviously I'm pretty anti friends with benefits personally, but like I said, everyone can always do whatever they want. Here's another comment that kind of backs up my side here. She says, not for me personally, too many risks. You have the risk of unplanned pregnancy, STDs. If one side does develop feelings and they aren't reciprocated, it very likely could end the friendship or cause an uncomfortable, awkward dynamic. Plus you've got kids in the mix. One of my best friends was in a situation like this. She ended up developing strong feelings for him, which were very one-sided. He used this to string her along for a very long time. It ruined their friendship and kept them both from developing relationships outside of the dysfunctional web. Wasted time and emotionally damaging. It was brutal to watch and caused tension in our friendship as I tired of being the shoulder to cry on. It did nothing to try to reason with her about the situation. She was totally blinded by him. I don't know. Maybe it works for some. I've just never seen it work. And that is the note to end on for this one. So there's definitely lots of risk. And to me, the gain of it seems to be very short-term oriented, very kind of hedonistic, temporary pleasure. It's like the idea of instant gratification. And yeah, okay, maybe that's fun sometimes, maybe that's good sometimes, but if you're putting yourself in that situation, then I would always be just a little bit more careful with it.